Hey, the Rusty Dusty Picker channel is on. I think you're going to like this video. This is something very, very different, something of a time-lapse episode. And what we're working with here is an insert from a cabinet door. And the brother or sister to this piece, this exact piece, I already made a Patriotic craft out of, and it's been aged to a point where, well, you'll see at the end of the video where it came out very well. Anyway, but I'm going to show you how I did it, and I'm also going to reveal at the end what it looks like after the aging process in the sun. So that's enough hints. Let's get the materials and get going. Okay, so the idea is that we're going to make an American flag type of a sign out of this inlay. Obviously, I didn't pay anything for this. This was a piece that we owned that was here in the shop that we decided to take apart and salvage whatever we could to get crafty with. Anyway, so the first thing I'm going to do is work on the stars. So we're gonna have the blue background for the stars. So all I'm going to do at this point is put the star pattern, the stencil that we've had for a while, and we're going to tape it off, and then paint the background blue so we can come back and do the stars. So let's get started on that. All right, guys. So we've taped this off to prepare the background for the stars, which will be white, of course, on a blue background. I'm going to take my time. So as you probably know, I don't like just brushing paint onto things, especially signs like this. I'll dab it on, and I'll take the extra 10 minutes to do that. So to the extent that we fast forward this, that's the reason. I just do not want to, do anything other than what I think looks the best. So here we go. little music for us. How sweet is that? And away we go. So now let's move on to the stripes part of this rendition of a flag, and this will probably, as I look at it and remember it, it was 5 stripes. Let me tape them off. A lot of times some of these patriotic flag renditions are the most interesting when they don't have exactly 13 stripes, which kind of makes sense. But you certainly do have to start with red. You know, it has to start with red and end with red. Otherwise, you're really off the reservation a little bit. So let's just eyeball it. I figure it's going to be about, I don't know, 2 inches, a little more than 2 inches per stripe. So there's a red stripe there. I'm going to do the bottom now. Doesn't have to be perfect. This is it's a handmade job. This isn't coming through the Suez Canal. Just put it that way. All right, we'll start with those with the red and tape as we go. You'll see how it goes. So I like dark reds for my American flags. Once again, just to make them look aged, and then you can actually do a little bit of sanding to make them look worn. And then, of course, at the end of this video, you're going to see what it looked like after being intentionally left outside. So we'll just do some red here. You can follow along. It's not brain surgery. Oh, this red is, I believe it's red wine. It is French wine, it's called. Just your normal Michael's job. But I don't want bright reds, and I don't want bright whites, as you'll see at the end here. You know, it may be subtle, but one of the things I like to do, not necessarily with straight lines because it's obvious, but with stencils, is to pay special attention to the edges. You know, there's nothing worse than missing an edge. What I mean by that is the edge of the tape. What happens in the middle is, that's kind of a wild card. Once again, it goes back to aging. Things can happen there. But when something's originally produced or put together, the edge was right, and it needs to be fairly, fairly uniform and look like somebody knew what they were doing way back when, if you're trying to make something that looks old. So that's why you'll see me spend extra attention on the edges of the tape. Just freehanding it here, with the blue. No big deal. And that's good. There's no reason to get any more excited to put more paint on there. Once I'm done with this particular stripe, I'll take a break. I'll let it dry because we're going to need to retape. And you'll see how that works too. I mean, could you buy a stencil for this? Probably, but no thanks. In most cases, just tape it up. Okay, I'll call that done with the first two stripes. All right, and we'll get ready for the next. All right, now we're going to do some white, in air quotes, because we don't use bright whites, of course, and we're going to take advantage of the color of this board. And we're going to use what is khaki. Khaki is the color for now. Once again, just to help give it the aged look. So we'll do two stripes of white, represented by khaki. And you'll see later we're going to come back and I'm going to do a little bit of a lighter shade on top of this khaki, which will really make it look weathered, even on top of what we do to it in the elements. Okay. Good. And do the lower one. Okay, first two white stripes are done. Let that dry. So let's finish the reds. We got two more red stripes to go. Knock those right out. Be nice if I used the right brush that isn't white. Dummy. Just trying to go as quick as I can for the video without missing anything. It's not brain surgery, but we do want to see what went on and what went into it and how much time it took and all that fun stuff, and whether it was worth the time or would be to you to take on some of these silly projects with things laying around the house or other people's houses. A little more French red. Yes, please. Why not? We're not driving. Okay, two more reds done. Here we go. All right, so I went ahead and I added the missing white stripe in the middle. So now we're good to go. The seven stripe flag, they call it, I guess. We'll let that. We're gonna let that. Let that dry overnight probably, and then I'll come back. First thing to do will be to stencil the stars onto it, and then I'll show you what I do with the stripes to make them look gold, above and beyond what nature will do to this piece over time, which you'll see at the end. All right, let's talk about these stars now for a second. I'm going to tape this stencil down to this piece and do the stars, but there's one thing that's very important, and I'm not sure if you can pick it up by just looking at this, but it's important to get the stars lined up properly because they're not reversible. For instance, you can see you want the point on the top, and that's not the way this is. That's not traditional, and it's going to look a little funky if you do that. So what you want to do is make sure that you have the top points and it's symmetrical the way traditionally you'll see the star. I guess intuitively, what a terrible job. Intuitively, you will know to do that, but sometimes you can forget, and then you're gonna start, and you're gonna have an interesting looking star pattern. But anyway, word to the wise: do what you do, and get over it. No biggie. So we'll tape it down. We'll fast forward through a lot of this because this is one of those spots where you just don't want a lot of paint on the brush. I say that all the time, but this is where it can scoot really easily if you're not taking your time. And heck, we have to do 50 of these, so we just kind of get started. Make sure you get the points. You want to get them defined. The middle is not as important as the points of these stars. And we'll come back, you know, keep moving. Plenty of paint on the brush. Always coming back and finishing the points and stuff, but just keep it going. Okay. I almost said you can always add and not take away, but I'm sure you're tired of hearing that. So, and I'm getting tired of sniffling. I can't believe it's still 40 degrees in this garage / shop. Fake spring has sprung. But it's fun. Get this stuff going. Got a bunch of questions from y'all. I posted my email on one of these videos. I've gotten some really good questions, so I'm putting answers to those together, and we'll do a little Q&A at some point real shortly, because there seems to be some demand for that. Nothing too technical, but where do you get things? How much do you pay? Which is kind of self-explanatory, but it's a good question, and you know, it's how do you balance the cost to travel somewhere with getting such low-priced items? The key, well, I'll answer that now. The key is you're not traveling for the low-priced items. You're picking up the inexpensive items along with more desirable stuff. So, but I'll explain all that. It's not above anybody's pay grade to figure that out. And a lot of times it's just asking, you know, hey, would you throw this in? Or, wow, you know, I tell them the truth. You know, I say it all the time. Hey, I do crafts, and if that thing's not gonna be a survivor of this sale, I mean, I'd love to have it. You know, I'll give you $1 or $2 on it, or if you want to throw it in, that would be great. And now that I have a YouTube channel, I can just tell them, hey, you can go on the channel, and likely someday you'll see something made out of this piece that we both thought at some point was beyond its useful age or usefulness. So moving quickly, best I can here. Make sure we get the points. Should have just enough paint to finish. Clobbered that one with paint. Okay. There's 50. So just pop this off. Here's your 50 stars. I'll be back to show you next steps on these stripes. All right, so now everything's dry. And what I'm going to do now is just layer in some color on the white. We're going to, I might have said I'm going to add it lighter. I'm actually going to add a little bit of a darker. It's a honeycomb color acrylic. And what we simply do, and we're not trying to be exact. We're just going right down the middle of these stripes, like so. Somewhat random, just not. It's going to give it that aged look, and then it's going to sit in the sun for a year. West facing, so it gets the afternoon sun for the better part of a year, and the rain and the elements and all that, and it will naturally age as well, which you're going to see. So that's that for now. Okay, so we're done. We're going to let nature take its course on the painted side. On the back here, where it's beveled here, remember this was the outside of this is an inlay of a swinging door on a armoire or whatever. So I'm just going to spray paint the back black. So here's what we start with. And I'm gonna, like I've said 100 times, that's gonna be outside, unprotected in the sun, for about a year. So let me bring in the finished product. This is the result of having been weathered for a year outside. Now I did do a light sanding on it. And I did now seal it, so now it's ready to be hung, or for whatever purpose we want it. So I will note that we did lose about a 1/4 inch on each end, just from the wear. It peeled off, so we've got a little bit of a tighter sign, which is even better in my eye. But anyway, that's the finished product right there. Good to go, and you know, don't be afraid to take risks. Once again, cost into this is essentially zero, and I'm probably not going to list this, but if I did, I'd probably put, I don't know, $80, $120 on it. But hey, thanks for coming. If you like stuff like this, just subscribe so you can get notified when the next video is coming. Thumbs ups don't hurt either, and we'll talk to you next time.